This photo was taken in 2019. The kid who took this photo had no money, lived in Brazil, no family in motorsports, but he dreamed of racing and he loved racing. I'm making this video right now for him, for this kid from 2019 who has no idea what's about to happen with his life in the next 7 years.
Fantastic.
You did it, man.
These young drivers in the USF.
You dream getting in P1.
Doing green to check for the open.
It's so cool. I mean, coming up from the sim side myself, like seeing guys like you be able to actually make it like this, it's beautiful.
This video is also for you who is in a similar situation and is asking the question, is it possible? What does it take? How can I climb the ladder of motorsports and actually race a real car? Well, here's how this kid did it. His whole passion about racing games started very early with Gran Turismo. He loved cars, unlike his friends who liked football. I mean, it's Brazil, right? And he was there racing and doing endurance events in a controller on a PlayStation 1. He played Gran Turismo 1, Gran Turismo 2, Gran Turismo 3, 4. And then he saved money and begged for his dad to buy a Logitech driving force. This was already a big achievement. Being able to play with the steering wheel, oh my god, there's so much more precision, so much more fun compared to driving on a controller. But then he got a little bit too excited about making it feel real. He didn't really like the arcade games that were unrealistic. He wanted to feel like he was driving a real car. And then he moved to Assetto Corsa. We are now in 2017, and in Assetto Corsa, we are realistic enough so that we have to study. The stuff that we study for real life racing physics already apply to Assetto Corsa. So this kid started studying. He started reading books and he went on YouTube. He started learning about setup, about weight transfer, about racing dynamics overall. Then he read books on real life racing physics. Carroll Smith, Tune to Win, Drive to Win, Ultimate Speed Secrets by Ross Bentley. And he continued to apply all this in the simulator, and it started to work. He started winning the open lobbies a little bit too easily and got to a point where he was looking for some extra competition, and he had no idea. But what I'm about to tell you was one of his first decisions that were a turning point in his entire life. He looked for leagues. He found a small local competition with other online drivers that organized a weekly race that was even broadcasted on YouTube. All this still on Assetto Corsa. He joined the team, and then he started practicing together with drivers who were way faster than him. And this is the point where he realized he still needed to practice so much more. He was not that good, and he started putting the hours and the hours and the hours because every Thursday night he knew he had a rival to try to beat. And he did that for 2 years, until finally he found another simulator, iRacing. Back then, iRacing was very expensive, so he had to save a lot of money to be able to get a membership. But as soon as he got in, he took it so seriously that even before touching the car for the first time, he tried to watch as many videos as possible and track guides and tutorials because he did not want to start it wrong. At this point, he's already a musician. He's a pianist competing at the national and international level with over 10 piano prizes in piano competitions. So he knew what it took to really be good at something, and he did that into iRacing. He poured all his obsession for technique and information and knowledge and deliberate practice to that little game. And on his first race, he realized that he was actually on the right direction. He started winning races very quickly. He joined iRacing leagues, and he went very quickly to 5,000 iRating, which at that time was already around top 1% in the world rankings. But he wanted more. He still had faster rivals in his Brazilian leagues, and he wanted to do the best he could to become the best driver. That was his fun, that was his obsession. But then something very important happened to him. And again, he did one of those life-changing decisions, and he had no idea about it. He was approved for this master's degree in piano in Canada, but he did not have the money for that trip. His parents were trying their best to save as much money as possible so that he could attend to this university, but he still needed to work and make some extra money to help pay for it. So he decided to start coaching. He was very active in iRacing forums, providing setups that he himself created that happened to be extremely fast. And because he was constantly winning all races in Formula 3 and providing those setups for the community, as soon as he announced that he was starting to do coaching sessions for $20 an hour in the forum, some drivers decided to try it out. On his first coaching session, he realized that it was very easy to explain how those drivers could find time. From the very beginning, that first driver went back to the forum and said, hey guys, I recommend his coaching. Then the second driver came in. They had another very good session. And then he went back to the forum and replied. And then in a matter of weeks, that forum post went viral and it got featured in the main page. So this kid who had no idea he was good at coaching, just because he needed some money to be able to move to Canada, went from his first session to around 5-10 coaching sessions per week. And that is when he realized he found another passion: coaching other drivers. Fast forward to 2020. He's in Canada. He's already doing his master's degree, and now he's capable of paying for his own bills in Canada and even sending some money back to his family because they truly deserved it. They were struggling so much to send him money that would not be worth that much because of the currency exchange. And just a few months after he moved to Canada, COVID hit. And something very strange happened. He could not go to the university to study piano, but he could stay at home streaming on Twitch. He started streaming more and more and more, sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8 hours per day, and coaching more and more drivers. Fast forward just 6 more months, and this kid, who had no idea 1 year ago, is now doing 35 coaching sessions per week in iRacing. He wanted to control the amount of students because he could not handle them all, so he raised the price. And it did not change anything. He started charging $50 an hour, and he still had 35 students per week. So he raised the price even more to $100, and nothing changed. Everyone wanted his coaching, and he started seeing an amount of money that he could never imagine. At this point, he's making more money than his whole family combined. And his passion for coaching is increasing even more, while his passion for music is actually decreasing a little bit, at least as a professional thing, because of COVID. And this already looks great, but he runs into a problem right now. Streaming so many hours per day is very tiring, and he was starting to burn out a little bit. So he took another one of those very important decisions. He decided to move to YouTube. Instead of streaming for 8 hours and having people watch you live only to never watch that live stream again, he decided to edit the videos and post them so that they could last longer, so that people could watch whenever they wanted. So he decided to post his races on YouTube, but then he decided to post his coaching videos on YouTube. And this is where everything exploded. His YouTube and his Instagram channels suddenly went to the millions of views, which was something completely unimaginable for him. And at this point, he started to accept that this was becoming his main job, that he would actually quit his professional piano career. But the tipping point for him to get into real life racing was a sim racing competition, the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada. And after winning many races, he became champion. And his prize? 2 things. First, he won this trophy that is still hanging there in his background and will stay there forever. But there was a second prize, much bigger than that. One person who owns a real life team watched that championship and gave him a call. He said, "Would you like to drive a real car?" He said, "No, it's a little bit too much. It's too dangerous. I would have to travel. It's too expensive. And I don't know if I want that." But Marc-Andre, the owner of a small team called Apex V2R, which means virtual to reality, insisted, and he convinced this kid to go try an actual race car. On his first 30 minutes of driving, he was driving terribly, because he never drove anything too different from his actual simulator. But after a few hours of driving, he was already lapping on the same second of the instructors from that track day. And that is when Marc-Andre invited him to do a full championship, the Super Production Challenge in Canada. But there's a problem. This championship would cost a lot of money, more specifically $35,000, which, although he was making good money from the coaching, was still not sustainable. So Marc-Andre told him, "Find a way, make more money. I don't know, make maybe an online course." And then this kid started studying. He noticed that 35 hours of work per week is too much, and he could not make more money than that. He was already charging a high amount for his coaching sessions. So he started reading business books, and he tried to understand how he could create a bigger impact and how he could make more money to be able to race that championship. And he also had a problem. In most of his coaching sessions, he was teaching the same things, and he was getting a little bit tired of that. He really liked the higher level students, but didn't really enjoy teaching the same things on the basic level. So he combined all those ideas and created the motor racing checklist. his first online course, combining all of the concepts that he had at that point created as he was coaching so many drivers, and that course exploded. He was finally able to pay for the Super Production Challenge. The beginning of the championship was a little bit difficult. He had to race in the rain, he had to face real racing car issues, lack of ABS or parts breaking, and he was very afraid of crashing. So he was underdriving, he was heavily trail braking, and he was not really up to pace on his first 6 months of racing. But as he was constantly getting coached by Marc-Andre, who had a lot of experience in real life racing, he was finally able to connect his sim racing technique to his real life technique. And he was able to understand what was missing and wrote it down, because he knew he was going to need those ideas for his own students who at some point could also transfer to real life racing. At the end of the season, he started performing so well that he finished the championship with 2 podiums. And that was already huge for him, because with those 2 podiums, he caught the attention of another team. And it was a Radical racing team. He gets invited to test a Radical SR3 at one of the scariest tracks in the world, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, but he goes all in. Now he's asking his real life racing friends, how do you find the limit on such a fast track without crashing? He starts to collect advices from everyone and he tries it out on track. And it works. Now he's combining his 10,000 hours of simulator with his 1 year of racing in real life, and he's applying everything together in a much faster car, and he's starting to perform and impress his team. After that test, he gets invited to race at the Radical North America Championship, which is going to be way more expensive than the previous year, but now his online course is exploding and it's selling in the thousands. So he has the money, but he's so afraid. He's so afraid because racing is dangerous and it's expensive, and if you crash, you might run out of money. What if the online courses stop selling? It's a really big risk. But he decides to go all in. But then he goes completely mad and he takes the craziest decision ever. Instead of renting the car with a team and pay a lot less, he decided to buy his own brand new race car. And with a reason. If he rented the car with a team, he could not paint the car with his colors. And at this point, he's already thinking about business, he's already thinking about marketing, and he wants to show that race car on YouTube with the colors of his own coaching business, with the colors of the motor racing checklist, black and golden. So he buys the new car and he starts the championship. And at this point, that is already an end goal. He doesn't dream of being a champion. He just wants to drive, he just wants to show his audience that he can do it in real life, that he can race. And at first, it's really tough. The championship is extremely competitive, the drivers are extremely aggressive, the drivers have a lot of money, they have spare cars. And this kid had zero money in his account. He had exactly the amount he needed to buy the car. So every month, the money from the sales of his online courses was pouring straight into the racing team costs, into transportation, flights and food and rental, and his media team. He was constantly with zero money because he was spending everything immediately in racing. And now his life is starting to get difficult because he has the pressure of the commitment he took to spend so much money that he actually still did not have because he was counting on those monthly sales. And he had to create content about his racing, create content about racing technique, travel constantly between Canada and US, and on top of that, he had to become an athlete. The Radicals are already physically demanding enough that he realized he was just a nerd that could not withstand the heat and the G-forces of a Radical. So he had to prepare for that, and he hired an Olympic trainer to help him become that athlete. He did a lot of neck training, he did a lot of endurance training, he changed his diet, and he started to change because he really needed to withstand the physical forces with the emotional pressure and the financial pressure of real life racing. And this constant juggling of things to do, things to pay, exercises, and races. Somehow, he made it to the last round fighting for the championship in Sonoma. And this is where things went absolutely crazy. His rival hired 2 professional drivers for that last event only to help him steal the championship from this kid. And that produced the most intense race weekend that kid has ever lived up until today, because he had to fight 1v3. against 3 very fast drivers that were competing in top level championships like the World Endurance Championship and the 24 Hours of Le Mans and much more. And his job was to just finish ahead of that one rival, and after a very intense race weekend, he did it. He became a radical North America champion. And this caught the attention of 2 much bigger sponsors, Logitech G and Podium One. These 2 sponsors were enough for him to do a much more expensive championship, the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, racing TCRs in the US, a championship with 11 weekends in the US. And because of this explosion in his career, he ran into a personal problem. He was running out of time. Managing his own coaching, managing his own content, and traveling constantly to the US was starting to become a little bit too much, and he ran into burnout. Now, his excitement about editing videos and about racing were starting to fade and were starting to become a big pressure. He started to feel depression because it was too much and he could not handle it, and he never really thought too much about creating a work-life balance. But he still had to do it. He had signed those 11 weekends and he had his obligations, his financial obligations. So what looked like an amazing life was actually a heavy burden for him, because now he had to maintain this smile publicly to everyone, pretending that his life was perfect. But it was dragging him down more and more and more. He had to look for therapy and for doctors, and he started taking medicine to be able to withstand all that without collapsing and without stopping everything that he had committed to do. He was still doing everything that he had to do, but his content quality and his content frequency on YouTube started going down, which drastically decreased his sales. New people now didn't know who he was, and now he realized how he had become a slave of that content machine. He had to create videos every week, otherwise he would not be able to continue what he started. The sales dropped so much that he started bleeding money, and his expenses and his commitments were way higher than what he was able to make on a monthly basis. And this was his worst year ever. It was torture from January to December. But he learned from that, and he started planning for a better year in 2026. His passion was still the same, coaching. Even though creating content and traveling a lot was creating a lot of pressure for him, he still enjoyed the one-to-one coaching sessions with all those hundreds of drivers every month. It re-energized him, and he was certain that that was still his passion. And then he started to focus even more on coaching. At this point now, he is fully confident that he can coach drivers in real life. He already traveled to many places in the world and helped drivers save hundreds of thousands of dollars in prevented crash damage. He has the data to prove that. Drivers who were constantly crashing and thinking about quitting motorsports suddenly become consistent and start winning races. And people who are friends of these drivers started asking them, what happened? How did you go so fast suddenly? And they started talking. Oh, it's that guy. He coached me. He's really good. Try it out. So now he's truly becoming a real life coach. And he gets hired in 2026 to coach a driver for a full championship in the Ferrari Challenge Japan. He gets hired to coach a driver who will then win the 6 hours of Abu Dhabi. He gets hired to coach a driver who will then win the 24 hours of Barcelona, and much more. And now it becomes a normal thing for him to coach real life drivers and to travel the world, not as a racing driver, but as a coach. And after all this experience coaching sim racers and now coaching real life drivers, he decides to create an online course only for real life drivers with the objective of being extremely efficient, because a lot of these drivers don't have a lot of time, but they need to prepare for their real life events. And it's a success. Now he has even more drivers winning podiums everywhere, and he's partnering with more and more real life drivers up to the point of becoming a coach that actually drives these higher level cars like GT3. He's still racing for fun, but that's not his focus. He doesn't want to repeat his burnout from 2025, so now he's choosing his commitments with a lot more caution and planning pretty much his entire year in advance to prevent getting back into a burnout. But after all these ups and downs, he is currently finding himself in a very happy place, in a very balanced, mature, and still passionate place about racing, about coaching, about traveling, about meeting people from all over the world, and about having a purpose in his life. A very specific purpose, to combine his passion for music and for sports and for racing into this crazy way of describing racing techniques and how to feel and communicate with the car, which is unique to him. And he recognizes that, and he holds that because that makes him happy. And he will continue to do that because his objective is still not done. He wants to create the biggest impact in the global racing technique literature. He will continue to write books. He will continue to improve on his concepts. And he will continue to race and prepare other races for as long as he's capable of. Let me make one thing very clear here. This is a success story. The ups and downs come with it. Everything that this kid built comes with the responsibility that he had to learn how to manage to become an actual adult. And I'm pretty sure that if he went back in time, he would change nothing, because everything that happened to him was important for him to learn how to adapt and how to grow with it. He is currently living his dream. He's extremely proud of himself, and he knows that there's way more to come. I made this video because this week we are completing 2 years of the Almeida Racing Academy. It's a very important moment where we created the actual school after we have created the online courses and unified everything into what we have today. We are launching a limited discount that's very special for some reasons. One, this discount carries over forever. It's a 20% discount that adds on top of the quarterly and yearly discounts that can go up to 60%. And if you use this discount right now, it will automatically stay for every renewal you want to do. The code is anniversary20 and it only lasts until July 20th. The link is going to be in the description. We are constantly launching new courses. We have many plans for new lessons and optimized concepts that I'm constantly working on, and you don't want to miss this. Just take a look at all the success that our students are having in esports and in real life racing. And we've got the data. We know that our drivers improve their I ratings way faster than the average driver, and we're essentially speed running their development so that they can improve in a few months what many drivers cannot achieve in even years. Thank you so much for your trust. If you're watching this video up to this point, leave a comment to let me know that you watched until the end, and I'll see you guys in the next one.